I would like to welcome Jaime Loomis. He is the Transportation and Climate Change Division manager at the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District. During his 19-year tenure, he has gained a wide breadth of experience working in multiple divisions. Currently, he is leading the district in promoting alternative transportation technologies in the region to mitigate climate impact and improve the region. Now, I'm going to hand it over to him and just say, next slide when you want me to go to the next slide, Jaime.
Thank you. Why don't you go ahead? Thank you. So good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well this morning. It's turning a new leaf here. And, a lot of smiles this morning. Even my wife woke up in a very, very good mood this morning. So just good morning to everybody. Good morning to CleanStart. Thank you, Thomas and Soraya, for setting this up for us. As Thomas mentioned, he really shortened up my bio, and I was talking to him earlier about who we are and how sometimes we have the opportunity to connect with folks, and many times we don't even get to know who they really are, and so sometimes we make effort to have some coffee with them or some dinner, and we get to know a little bit about them. So I wanted to share just a little tiny bit about me. As mentioned, my name is Jaime Loomis. I am the son of immigrant workers from the Salinas Valley. I grew up around agriculture my whole life, basically. And my family is from Michoacan, Mexico. So I am a descendant of the Purepecha people, which is an indigenous peoples whose empire, that's kind of a Western term, but whose community was as large as the Aztec Empire. I'm sure everybody knows the Aztec Empire. And so that's a little bit about me. I spent 16 years down in the Salinas Valley area, and then I moved up here at a really young age, 16 and a half, and went to DQ University, then to UC Davis, and then also to Sac State. So that's just a little bit about me there. Been there at the Air District for 19 years. Next slide, please. Now a little bit about the Air District, some background. Over my 19 years of being at the Air District is not known for all of the things that we do. We're mostly known for either the Check Before You Burn program, the Spare the Air program, Scooter, or maybe a violation of some sort, but we really are much bigger than that. And we are comprised of 4 different divisions. I left one out only because that's the housekeeping, the admin division that is really the bones of our agency. And these are the programmatic divisions. We have the stationary sources division, which does all the enforcement, does the permitting, and also the complaints for our region. We have the program coordination division, which takes care of the rules and the regulations, does the air monitoring, keeps us in compliance with our state implementation plan, and also is the lead for the community air protection program, which I'll talk a little bit about today. And then, of course, the transportation and climate change division, which is what I oversee, and very popular, these last few years when I started getting into this role, because it's about handing out dollars, right? And so it's a little more difficult than just handing out dollars, is what I learned, right? There's no such thing as a free cup of coffee sometimes, right? And so even the dollars are difficult to hand out. The other part of the climate change section that I oversee is the construction, CEQA, and land use development section. And with that, we provide input, leverage local agencies to reduce VMT and construction mitigation during development. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, a lot of dollars that we handle. $70 million within this next 3 years that we have currently in the bank, either in contracting as we are processing applications now, either already contracted and waiting for project delivery, or funds that are still currently available and we're processing applications. So right now we currently do not have any solicitations open, but we will have some more funding coming in, and so we'll be getting ready to put out some solicitations. This funding is for the region, and as you can see here, a variety of different programs that really address emission reductions in our region, all the way from the gig and small light duty passenger vehicles like our car share programs, all the way to the heavy duty, zero emission school buses, and to the low emission tractors in our region. On the right, you'll see 10 identified communities. And I wanted to put this out here because these communities are 10 communities in the Sacramento region that have an overburden of pollution. And not just air pollution, but these are transportation deserts, these are food deserts, these are, lacking medical access, water pollution, low birth rates, just everything. And so this is a focus of ours where we're starting to redirect some of our resources and some of our funding to those communities. Next slide. Now, the previous slide was about regional impact, regional reach, and regional reduction of emissions. And so as we look closer into our communities and to the need of our communities, we've been hearing from many community members, well, Jaime, that's great. You have $70 million. How do we access it, right? Because many of the guidelines to the incentives have a lot of are very strict. And some of them are on reimbursement basis. Some of them you have to have a scrap vehicle, a qualifying vehicle. Sometimes it has to be over 14,000 GVWR. And so when we look at private fleet, sole proprietors, community businesses, community orgs, they get left out, right? And so the team at the Air District has been really looking to see how we can flex some of those opportunities to be able to provide funding at the local level to create local impacts. So our community car share has been a medley of funding along with partnerships to create a mobility solution, a zero emission mobility solution within transportation deserts. The Clean Cars for All program now is starting to put dollars in community residents' pockets for the exchange of an old, vehicle, 15 years plus, to a plug-in zero emission or plug-in hybrid vehicle. And our efforts in Del Paso Heights with the Green Tech Mobility Hub site, where this is going to be one of the first in the region where we have a hub inside of a transportation desert. So there's no transportation access here, that provides car share, potentially a bike share program, and a shuttle to transport folks in and out of the community, kind of like the SAC-RT Smart Ride. So now this turns into a transportation hub where the community now can get in and out of that immediate community into jobs, into medical access, into education access. And so those are some of the things that we've been working on. Now, I mentioned the guidelines being so strict, right? As you can see in the previous slide, there was so many different types of projects, and in this slide, there's much less, right? Which means that the guidelines really cater to large industry, large fleet, and large reduction of air emissions, right? So when we look at big rigs and tractors, there's more opportunity there, but it really leaves out small community and the mom and pop operator, the sole proprietors, and everybody else, as I mentioned. So we want to do more, right? And in that group, it also leaves out the innovator. And so this is important to this discussion. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. Next slide, please. So this is what we're proposing at the Capitol, and it looks like it's gaining a lot of momentum now. We want to create some flexibility within our traditional programs like the Carl Moyer program and the Community Air Protection program. As mentioned, these programs really are geared toward large fleets, to fleets who have capital to upfront the cost of a zero emission vehicle and then be reimbursed to take the risk of moving into zero emission. So we want to change this up a little bit. We've been hearing from the community that the needs are much bigger, right? In talking to CleanStart as well, there's a lot of folks that are involved with CleanStart that can't access the funds. So we want to see if we can make this a potential solution. In the Community Air Protection Program, we want to include exposure reduction programs. And what that means is, you'll see here, even small things like canopied bus stops, solared bus stops, increased tree canopy, bike lanes, but then also focusing on active transportation. So the e-bikes that Thomas Hall was talking about, those are the types of programs that we really want to bring in. Anything innovative, right? Any type of technology that is viable, that can be seen in the communities to move people around, right? There's also others, right? Cool paving and cool roof, that's kind of more on the land use side. But that's the direction that we're trying to move in. On the Carl Moyer program, we want to remove the scrap requirement. And that's really important because that's a large barrier. I want to point to the CRP work van up on the middle of that slide there. And so CRP was able to take advantage of a program called the CCAT program within our region. And right now we're oversubscribed because it's so popular. But the CCAT program had the similar guidelines as the Carl Moyer program, and we removed the scrap component of it if you're moving to zero emission technology. So CRP was able to take advantage of this and now got 9 of these work vans. So rather than them moving into the combustion space with getting 9 work vans that are diesel or natural gas or whatever it may be, they elected to go this route and they got $100,000 per vehicle. So that's a fairly large incentive there. So that is a big barrier that we're trying to remove here in the Sacramento region. This is important because as fleets and folks try to move into zero emission space, the risk is less, right? And so that's what we're trying to do. Next slide, please. So, as mentioned, I've talked to many folks in the community, as well as CleanStart has talked to a lot of folks, as well as many of you have talked to a lot of folks. And really, it's about trying to provide access, right? It's about trying to provide the opportunities for different folks to the funding, to medical access, to transportation, to education, to jobs. And so many of our partners here are collaborating. And so we are in the process of putting together a summit at the end of March of this year to try to create this conversation on equitable pipelines to climate-related jobs. This is important because, of course, here at CleanStart, right, that's what we're doing. We're pushing innovation, but also trying to create more work and more jobs, more green jobs here in our region. So, you know, hopefully you'll hear about this soon once we get more of the details finalized, and we'll be able to start putting this out into our communities, and hopefully, right, we can get everybody to participate. And so that's pretty much the end of the presentation. And so this gives us some good amount of time to talk about, you know, have a lot of Q&A here.
All right. Thank you, Jaime. Is it okay if I share your contact information in the chat?
Sure, absolutely.
All right.
And also, oh, go ahead. Thank you. And, you know, just a big shout out to CleanStart for this opportunity. And, you know, we hope that this isn't the only one. We hope that there will be more. Thanks.